They're here. We see them.
Is George here also?
Right here?
Yeah, he's there.
Oh, okay, I didn't see, I didn't hear you.
Oh,
Morning.
yeah. I was muted. Good morning.
Okay, I'm going to start the webinar. Steve, it's 8:30. You're welcome to start the meeting.
Okay,
Might need to give attendees a minute or two to join, but I'll keep an eye out for who's on.
okay. We have quorum. Let's call this meeting to order. First order of business would be minutes for the 10/20/20 meeting. It's not a significant change, but for the future, I think boral trim was referred to as oral trim, and we use that term occasionally. So
I'm sorry, what was the name?
on 47 Maple, oral trim would be boral. Who knows how to spell boral?
B-O-R-L.
Wait, can you spell it again? B-O-R-A-L?
A-L.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, why would you know?
Sometimes it's hard to, hear what you guys are saying,
No, especially that. Yes.
but it's like, oh, wait a minute. So I'll make that change.
And
And
another,
I just had a few, oh, excuse me, Bill, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I just had a few minor kind of typo type changes that I'll send you, Joan, but the meetings were fantastic. I mean, the minutes were fantastic. Thank you.
And never ending.
I know.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for us just sending them to me, Wendy.
Yeah, I'll just send them. They're no big deal.
Okay,
Yeah, I just had one correction too. I'm happy to send it to you. It's Huntington Bank where it says Field Major, it's Field Measure, F-I-E-L-D, and then Measure, M-E-A-S-U-R-E, but I could send that to you. That's the Huntington Bank one.
okay, yeah, if you would send that to me also.
Yep.
Like I
No
said,
problem.
sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's hard to really understand what you guys are saying, and I go back
Sure.
and listen a couple times,
No, I understand.
so,
They look great though. Nice job.
Yes.
thank you.
Move to approve of those suggestions, those additions.
Second,
Okay, motion by King, seconded by Naylor. Childs,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Naylor.
yes.
Okay,
Okay, minutes have been approved as amended.
as amended. Let's go. Number one is 103 Walnut Street. There's an HSR attached to it. Owner is proposing changes in the existing house, primarily in the rear. The prospectus, because it was built in 1909, it's automatically an old house for sure. They're saying it does meet the standards for historically significance by its age and its condition. Although the proposed demolition of rear porch addition of 2.5-story rear sections changes the appearance of 103 Walnut and does not follow the codified ordinance, the owner minimized adverse effect on the design and historical significance of the house. And the changes occur at the rear of the property and cannot easily be viewed. So they're saying they're not so much into the design and everything, but it's not viewable from the street. And it does not affect the the adjacent contiguous neighboring period buildings because of that position on the back of the house. I guess that's up for us to decide. I move to receive the minutes of the report from Prospectus.
Second,
Motion by King, seconded by Naylor. King,
Yes.
Childs,
Yes.
Naylor.
yes.
Okay, let me give you a little history on this submission. So the applicant was in front of the Board of Zoning Appeals last week. regarding a area variance for setback to the rear property line. That variance was approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals. It's right now in its 15-day hold in case council wanted to make an appeal to that decision. They do need to go back to the Board of Zoning Appeals now on building code related issues, because in our local building code, section 133901 and 02, I think it is, it talks about no structure should be less than 3 feet from the property line. And the rear of the structure, the new proposed rear structure will be less than 3 feet from the property line. And per the law director, they had to treat these variances separate from the area variance. That's the reason why they need to go back to Board of Zoning Appeals. So you can treat this as a preliminary submission, and then they'll have to come back for final approval once they get through the appeal.
Can you tell me how far off they are? Or the
I think it's
proposing
like
committee?
a 1.5 to 2 feet, I believe.
It includes the overhangs, which is
Correct.
pretty close to the property line.
Correct. So I think Mr. Cato and David Payne and Ms. Steinhoff are queued up, so we can let them take over from here. Mike, are you online? You're muted, Mike.
Now, can
There
you
you
hear
go.
me? Sorry
There you
about
go. Very good, Mike.
that. You guys have the drawings in front of you, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're doing a modest addition to the back of the house. And the reason why we went towards the rear, and you can see it in the site plan here, is because they've got that grassy area to the right of the site. And that's really their yard for their kids to play in. And the left side is the garage and the driveway. So we thought that the only spot that was underutilized in terms of usable yard space was the rear. So we just are extending the house straight back towards the rear property line. So you can see the darker gray area is the addition we're talking about. And we are 2 feet off that rear property line, which Harry mentioned we did get a variance. The neighbors are all in support of the variance here. We will be resubmitting for that 3-foot rule. I think the deadline's tomorrow for the next BZA meeting. So if you look at the elevations, we're kind of just continuing what's already there. We're going to be toothing in, the same siding, the wood siding that's on the house currently. We're doing clad double hung windows, which match what is already there. If you're looking at this proposed, right here, if you're looking at the proposed right elevation at the bottom here, the piece that's kind of off to the right is the new section right there. We do show a trim board there between the old siding and the new siding, and I thought that might be a way of kind of letting there be some sort of line that shows where the old house stopped, and then we just continue past that, even though our materials and everything would change, would match, same colors. If you look at the rear elevation, which I think was up a little bit higher. Yeah, the rear elevation. Our house backs up to the neighboring garage, which is behind us. So you really don't get a full view of this house. We have a new kitchen. We're expanding our master suite. Stephanie's family has 3 kids, so they just needed some more space in the house. And you can see the floor plan. It's not like a huge house at all, even with this addition. Just this sort of like minimal requirements for 5-person family. We are adding on some space in the attic as well. The attic is usable, so we've got a bathroom on that back gable where that smaller window is up at the top. But the bottom first floor is kind of covered by the neighbor's garage, so you don't really see any of that.
It's about a 1,300 square foot home now. This proposed addition would add about 500 square feet to it, making roughly 1,800-ish square feet.
Dave, can you just state who you are for the record?
Pardon me, David Payne from Payne & Payne Renovations and Design.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Harry.
Mike, you kind of tell me where you want me to go. I'm driving the drawing here.
I think that's
nice.
about it. I think I caught everything I wanted to say. You could see here
I
the addition, the floor plans. So again, master suite on the second floor, which is on the left. On the right, you're seeing the proposed new bathroom attached to bedroom 4 and the playroom, which is existing. And then if you go down, I think the first floor, you could see like where we're adding the kitchen. Those are existing. So that's the existing floor plan. So you can see the family room, dining room, kitchen are all kind of tight.
Go to the first floor plan.
Proposed first floor plan on the right here, which you're seeing on the screen.
Harry, scroll down a hair.
Yeah.
There you
Thanks.
go. So we're adding a new mudroom off to the side that like is facing the direction of their garage. Little walk-in pantry, and then just sort of a, you know, kind of a nice kitchen with a nice big island so the family could gather and cook and have dinner. Underneath the new part will be a crawl space.
So I happened to be at the BZA meeting, and my first take was, wow, this is, you know, really aggressively close to the property line in the rear. But then as I heard the whole presentation and also the response of the neighbors, I realized that, you know, you are going towards this back of the garage in the rear. So there's really no negative impact. And the neighbor to the rear was very supportive. Since you're not going and taking over that yard to the right, you're not going towards the next door neighborhood to the right. And they were there and they were very supportive.
Mm-hmm.
They were really happy about the plan. So, I mean, I came around in terms of the kind of strategy of this. I did think it was a successful strategy. It's obviously not making this too big of a house. It's not mansionization or anything like that. I mean, I guess my concern would be when you've got that board on the side, instead of, I mean, we're always asking to break the side of the house plane and break the roof a little bit instead of just adding a board to show where the old and the new stop. So that way, in terms of historic impact, you can actually see what is the addition, even if it's a 6-inch break. And I just agreed with the comments of Prospectus, which are that you do need landings outside. And I think that double window, if you can separate the double window in the rear to be 2 single windows, I think that'd be really helpful. But when you look at I think this is a good place for an addition on the site. I think it's a successful strategy. And the detailing I like.
So if we separate those 2 windows, and I agreed with that comment too, if we separated those 2 windows, maybe make them a little bit narrower so that there's a little bit of space between them because they are their only window in the bathroom, that would probably look more appropriate with the rest of the windows on the second floor. I agree with that.
That I think I agree with you. You know, we like to encourage the sort of the offset of some sort of, in some fashion, of the structure. But when I look at, you know, the overall length of it being right around 40 feet when they add this on, I'm not sure, given the configuration inside the house, the fact that the house is already pretty small, delineating that new and old I'm in favor of trying to offset the foundation and or the walls. I think would be, I don't think it'd save anything in terms of the overall appearance of the house. You look at that side elevation and that board helps define
Yeah, Harry,
the
can you
original
scroll up?
structure, but there's enough going on beyond it with the windows and the door that I think it's a pretty successful solution on a pretty compact site, and it saves the side yard, which is great.
It's definitely not too long. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
This is Bill Childs. I typically like breaks and things and compositions, but I agree that I think this is a successful composition because of the length is not too long. I would personally get rid of this board right here. I don't think that's doing anything between old and new. I just keep it one composition. I would add some windows, like if you could get a window here or like over here just to break up so it doesn't look like this big, huge blank field. And if you could go to the other elevations, please.
Which one, Bill?
That one?
Okay,
That one I think successful. I think that's great. And again, I get rid of this board. I wouldn't put that board there. If you could go to the rear, please.
And stagger the siding.
I would just, yeah, if there's no way to line the siding up.
The siding's a little irregular. You know, it's like
Oh,
some of the pieces are a little taller, some are a little bit narrower 'cause it's like it's old wood. So I didn't know how we'd be able to like tooth it perfectly.
oh, okay.
That's the only reason.
Yeah, if you could get rid of that board and try to get the siding to line up with a good craftsman, that would be really good. But I'd put some windows down here in the kitchen. I know the garage is right behind there, but this is a huge blank wall of nothing. And I think if you at least get a couple windows here for the daylight, I realize there's a garage right behind you, but I would still to bring some light, natural light in there and to break up this big facade. That's my comments.
That whole block is almost completely garage against garage on the back border. I mean,
House
it's-
against garage.
Well, or garage against garage, depending on which house we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a no man's land of 3 feet behind the.
There is, yeah.
Yeah.
I do have one concern about adding too many windows on the rear facade. I know once we get into the building code review, and this goes back to that 3-foot thing, anything that's less than 3 feet to a property line, you have to have fire rated construction on it. So I was thinking that for this house, we would do, 1 hour fire rated drywall on the inside of that whole 3-story wall from the interior. And then we would do a 1 hour product under the siding on the exterior. We do a lot of housing down in the city of Cleveland, like in Ohio City, where we've got like 2 feet to a property line. That's usually what we do there. You can't see the fire rated material, but it does add protection for Stephanie's Steinhoff and also for the neighbor. So if a fire goes in either direction, there's something that kind of protects that wall with a 1 hour rating.
Mike, do you know the distance from the back of the proposed to the garage in the back?
Oh, the garage that's behind us?
Yes.
I think it's on that survey. If we go up to the site plan, I think it shows.
It says 12.3 feet to the property line. So there's quite a,
12.3 feet.
Okay,
There's
yeah.
a little bit of space there.
I mean, the code only addresses your side of the property line. So if you're less than 3 feet and there's a fire code requirement, it's for you, it's not for the neighbor.
Right.
It's in case the neighbor decided to do something different.
I wonder, I know you've got the overhang issue up above, but if you could pull the wall back to 3 feet instead of 2, I mean, I think there would be something to be said for that. I think you'd be out of the fire code issue. The overhang might still be technically a variance. I know you need every foot. I'm not saying a foot is nothing to lose. But I mean, then you could have typical walls. In terms of the window comment, I could also imagine maybe even like 3 teeny little windows that are up in the upper, way up high, or little transoms or something. I mean, on the other hand, I think to some degree, I'm comfortable with the blank wall because you are facing that garage, and you do have light in that room from either side, and the side elevations are far more significant in this case.
Ironically, the neighbors already got screening in place, so that if you're looking at from the neighbor's view to the back of this home, they have their garage, and then there's actually a couple arborvitae or similar plantings as well on the neighbor side of the property line, obscuring this facade.
Could I see the kitchen again, please?
I'm getting there. Maybe I. No.
One more up. You're getting there.
Scroll down.
Right.
There we go. There we go.
It's a problem with Zoom, you know? Can't flip through the pages, gotta look at these little thumbnails.
Yeah.
There you go,
So,
Steve.
the windows would be messing with the cabinetry, I would guess, huh?
Yeah, they would. They would mess with the cabinetry. I guess we're trying to focus the windows towards the side yard where the kids are playing on the right there.
And I don't know if I can chime in here.
Absolutely.
I'm the homeowner. Nice to see you all. Thanks for taking your time. When my family and I decided, okay, we would love to stay in the village. It's funny, someone mentioned during the BZA meeting, oh, they probably considered the size of the yard when they bought it. Wasn't the case. I was 2 weeks away from having a baby. My husband was opening a small business. I was changing jobs and we were moving from Missouri. So it was kind of like, we need to get in a home. Then we moved here, and having grown up in Cleveland area and knowing that when we moved back, I wanted to be in Chagrin, just because that's why we're all here. We love it. We hadn't really considered the size of the yard. And at the time we had a 3-2 and then a newborn in the home. And now we've been here for 5 years and we love this area. And we were like, oh shoot, we didn't really consider the size of the yard. We wish we had, but we love where we are. We love the walkability and we love the neighborhood that we're surrounded by. You saw from the BZA meeting, we love our neighbors and we're thankful for it. So being that I love history and character, I've always been in an old home, and knowing this was had some historicity to it and was old, we wanted to keep something of the same when we decided to add on, or we're hoping to. So that's why we chose Pain and Pain, because we know they do great historical renovations and have done a lot of work in Hudson and Chagrin. And B, we wanted to keep that side yard. We've seen a lot of our neighbors, probably before some of these zoning regulations were set in place, really take up the whole yard and have none of that. And, you know, we want it to be a place where someday when we move on from this home, other families can still feel comfortable to have a whole side yard. So that's why we picked going straight out the back. And then as far as the design with the cabinets and stuff, having lived in this house for 5 years and looking over at where the sunlight comes in currently through the house and just the way we're situated, you get a lot of sun from, if you're looking at the house, the right-hand side. I'm terrible directionally, but obviously the sun rises in the east. So from the east side of the home, that's where a lot of the sunlight comes, so there was a couple reasons for asking for more windows on the right-hand side of the house and a door with a window as well. So we could get that. And then backing up so close to our neighbor's garage, it's a big yellow wall. I had no desire to be looking at a big yellow wall. I would rather have the sun, and being blocked a lot by the sunlight. So I asked for the cabinetry to be on the back of the house, knowing that no one's really looking in. And if you take a little canter on our street, which I'm sure most of you have done, you can see that a lot of the back of the homes back up to close garages just because of the small proximity of the lots. So that's some of the thought in terms of design, and obviously Pain and Pain and all the gentlemen and women I've worked with there have been in somewhat of an agreement after stepping foot in the home and kind of seeing where sunlight comes in and how to utilize the best daylight, and then visual aesthetics as well. So.
Yeah, Stephanie, your lot's a little bit different than most lots because your lot is wider. Most lots are narrow and deep, and you've got the wide side yard, so it's a little unique.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate that that the way you're doing this, the house appears no wider. It doesn't occupy more of the lot. It's really going to be very unobtrusive, this addition.
Yeah, that was the hope. So.
I mean, I'm still a fan of it stepping in 4 inches just so you can see what is the old part and the new part. But I understand and looking at the plans, I think you could accommodate like losing 8 inches of width, but I know making it smaller is not making it better from your standpoint.
Not with 3 kids.
Right.
Kato, was the siding irregular enough that to Bill's point, would it be to weave it in if we get we have some cedar or something like that we can weave in to try to best match the varying exposures of the existing siding, or do you think that might be setting us up to fail?
I just think we need to look at it. I mean, I don't mind weaving it in. I think it'll look nice. We talked about
I actually disagree with that, though. I think it's better to have a board showing where the old stops
Yeah,
and the
I
new
agree.
starts. And the other tricky part of having the walls align is that it's very hard to build that roof extension in plain without it being kind of like a bump. You know, it's tricky to weave that in, and also you've got to try and weave in potentially new shingles with old shingles unless you're re-roofing the whole house. So
we were planning on re-roofing, but understood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to open a can of worms either, but I think the foundation too, when we extend that foundation, you know, the new material is not going to quite match exactly the old material. We're going to try to get it close, but you know, it's
Yeah, I was
old.
gonna ask you, Mike, were you guys going with like a Cantilly block or something? Or
Yeah, we've been down this road before. I know.
Right.
So the house has that Kentilly block, which I learned from you guys about. But Dave, we're going to be doing like a split base that kind of matches it, right?
That's my understanding. Yeah. How do you spell Cantilly?
Cantelli.
Thank
It's
you.
up in
Toledo.
up on the lake somewhere. Mentor, I don't know, somewhere. up on the
they're up
lake.
by Sandusky.
There you go.
Out west.
Well, we went through this when we were doing that house on North Street. Remember, Dave?
Yep, I do. Absolutely.
Okay, I think we like this house with a few suggestions. How can we lay this out for understanding? Sounds like the weave versus the board is up for grabs. The right craftsman can weave, I know.
We'll take a look at that and see what's the best solution for that area.
I would surely try to add some more windows instead of having such big, large blank windows. Looks to me kind of odd. That's just my personal take on it.
You're speaking of the back.
The back and the one
Side
side.
elevations.
No reason you can't put a window in a walk-in closet to break up that elevation and get natural daylight. You could put a little 2x2 window in the pantry, and even on the back, you could put one window, say centered in the kitchen, just to let a little more natural daylight and to break up the facade. Looking at the back of the garages, there could be arborvitaes or some type of backdrop that from a landscape to solve that issue.
Sounds like there already are.
Yeah.
We'll take a look at it. I know we're here for preliminary, so we'll be back with
Okay.
take all these comments and
All right, I would move for preliminary approval. I think we have a laundry list of things that aren't controversial to deal with. Additional windows, the board versus weaving. That's kind of it, isn't it?
Single instead of paired windows at the rear elevation.
yeah.
And landings, landings
landings.
outside the doors.
Could you pull up the photos you had taken of the home
That's coded.
that particularly jump onto the neighbors' photos? One that you can see, go up to 27, please.
Yes.
They have quite a few paired windows on their home, and that's the side that ours would be on. I'm just curious as, I think Georgie designed this home for the Veroses.
Yes.
Does pre-approval have any, and
I did. I think that house may have had pair windows. I mean, they're not exactly the same stylistically. It's a fair comment. But I think this house just has the single window, and I don't know. I'd almost
Those
defer to
windows-
Wendy. I'd almost defer to Wendy on that.
Those
Yeah,
windows were
usually-
paired before. Those windows were paired before.
What window? Oh, the house next door. What
The
we
garage.
usually use as reference though is because you've got different styles next to one another in the village. We usually look to the specific house as a reference. And so what prospectus is talking about and what I would look at as well is what are the existing windows on the house that we're looking at? So that's what we're referring to be consistent throughout your house.
Thanks.
Right. And we're just talking about separating them. We certainly don't want to replace a double window with a single window because I think you want both those locations, you want a lot of light.
Thanks.
So do we have a motion, Steve?
I moved for preliminary approval based on the investigation of the comments, mainly dealing with fenestration and weaving of the siding.
Second.
Okay, motion by King, second by Naylor. Joan, you have the comments?
Yes.
Okay. King,
Yes.
Naylor,
Yes.
Child.
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Next time.
Yep,
Guys,
thank
You too.
Moving on to 179 High Street, Davidian. House from the 50s. It has a historical review as well. It's 100 years old. However, prospectus is not calling it, their decision not calling it historically significant.
Steve, you
When
sure
was this
about that?
house
No,
built?
I don't think it's 100 years old.
That's nowhere near 100 years old.
I'm sorry, over 50 years old. Over 50
Yeah.
years.
Okay,
Okay, there you go.
Which makes it at least possibly historically significant. They did not find it so. Was unclear to me, other than it was a simple time period. That's kind of what I drew from it. We can judge this on its own merit, I would say, if we accept their conclusions, which we will discuss. I move to receive the prospectus report.
Second.
Motion by King, seconded by Naylor. Naylor,
Yes.
Childs,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Okay. A little background on this. This property was in front of you guys, I think, last year, where they raised the roof of the house, did some re-siding and stuff. Now they're back in front of you for an addition on the back of the house. And this is a preliminary. I do have some concerns with the retaining wall in the back as to the retaining wall on the left side does not comply with the zoning, amongst other things where I think the retaining wall is backing up into a hillside. Our engineer's gonna have to look at on a final submission. I did receive some comments from neighbors next door to the right as they were concerned about the contractor wanted to use their property for egress to the backyard, and they had some concerns about that. And with that, I'll leave it to the contractor to discuss the project.
Good morning, everyone. This is George. This is George Barrows from Synchronous Construction.
Good morning,
I've got
George.
Chris Demko, who's my CAD designer, on the call with you as well. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to discuss the project. As Harry had noted earlier, we had done some significant work to the property last year, basically redoing the entire first floor on the right-hand side of the house, raising the roof, completely re-siding the entire house, basically bringing it up to, a much more current aesthetic. The idea with this addition is to add some square footage, providing Ms. Davidian with a new master suite in the back as well as a bathroom. And Harry and I had a conversation as it related to the retaining wall in the back corner, We are not quite certain at this point for two reasons, and I'm not trying to cloud the issue, but there is a lot of shrubbery, growth, et cetera, on the left-hand side of that house. And if you're looking at the pictures on the very front page that we're on, if you look at the center photograph that depicts the umbrella right there, where the hand just was, that's essentially where the house is going to go. This addition would land. There's a deck there. It would land within the footprint of that existing deck. And essentially we would be grading the rear portion of the house to allow for the addition and then terrace the back. There's a water plan there. We've done site engineering. And really we don't really have any concern as it relates to moving the water from the property. The hillside's very, very stable from what we can tell. The only question that Harry had was on the retention wall itself, which would be to the right of that umbrella. I don't see us having a difficulty if we need to move that retention wall itself inwardly. I don't know that it's going to have any significant impact as far as the grading plan is concerned. But really, that's the thing that we see as the only impediment onto any type of variance requirement.
What do you intend to do with the dirt?
The dirt would either be utilized in part in grading around the yard, and then the rest of it will just be removed.
How do you access the site and get in and out of there without running over your neighbor's properties?
So there is currently, if there is an issue with the neighbor on the right-hand side, I've been in contact with their daughter. They are quite elderly folk. I've been in contact with their daughter, Tina. She wanted me to speak with her excavator. He and I have not been able to connect yet on the phone, but that is in the works. But if you look at the photograph that is, how do I explain this? Right where your hand is now, there is if you can slide that down, thank you, whoever's manipulating it. On the right-hand side there is a small existing, about a 6 foot wide area where there is an existing concrete pad that's on the side of the house. And we could move a mini through there without any problem. We were hoping to be able to utilize a wider swath of that land, including being able to get onto the neighbor on the right-hand side's property if necessary. But if we have to, we'll be able to maneuver within that footprint. We don't need, a full-size bulldozer back there.
Harry, could you go back to the second floor plan that's showing the master addition? I'm trying to figure out, so I thought this addition has is pretty aggressively close. It's up on the second floor, so it's up to the neighbor on the left. You've got a lot of room on the right, and so it made me wonder what way the plan. I'm sorry, Harry. What way there might be to just slide the addition away from the property line a little bit and afford that neighbor a little more. Yeah, well, you had it. I was looking at it.
This one?
That one. Thank you.
So there are
go down so I could see the addition, Harry. Please. No. I mean, scroll so that we could see the addition plan. The plan of the master suite.
Yeah.
It is. Wait, it's coming. You had it. That's it. Stop. Now,
Okay.
I just want to see the top of that drawing. Thank you.
There you go.
That's great.
Sorry about that.
So so that other little slot window, is that, can you scroll down just a hair? I'm sorry,
Yep.
Harry.
No, it's okay.
Oh, that's that bathroom. I
Yep.
mean, even if you slid this addition over
To the right.
3 feet to the right,
And took half the window out.
and then took half of that bathroom window out, but still left part of a bathroom window, I think you could really solve some problems. I mean, I'd suggest I think you're going to need an architect stamp for the final submittal anyway. So I would suggest you maybe get somebody involved.
Part of the reason why we drew this the way that we did was all of the plumbing access to and mechanical access to the entire property is directly below the existing bedroom, which is, Harry, if you can scroll down a little, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Which is literally where the existing bedroom is that doesn't have any drawings in it. It's at the end of the hallway. Okay, and underneath there is the garage. That's where all the mechanical access is. So what we were trying to mitigate was the amount of work that needed to take place in order to accommodate the new plumbing, new heating, HVAC, all that sort of stuff going into the new space. Getting to it in the way that this house is built structurally is the challenge in terms of getting underneath into that new section that would be the addition, which is why we designed it the way that we did. Secondarily,
that's where I'm saying an architect might help, because you want to balance these mechanical concerns with the architectural impact of the addition.
How big is the overhang on the existing house and the addition?
the roof overhang,
Correct.
1 foot.
Yeah, so I agree with George's comment, because what you're going to have is you're going to have right here, this looks like it's maybe about 1 foot. You want to pull this over so that this volume reads purely on the main piece of the composition. So if you pull that over 3 foot, when that overhang dies there and the gutter, you don't have the gutter hanging out or the eave hanging out over the side here. You'll have more of a pure connection, which is what you want geometry wise. So I agree with him. And I would just put a single window right here. You don't need this big, huge window in the bathroom. I had another comment too, if you go to the elevations while I'm talking.
Mhm.
If you go to the side, let's see, the L shape where it's the internal piece. Yeah, sorry, this bottom one right here. This to me looks really odd. I'd either do 3 large pieces of glass so you have a tripart here, or move this over so it reads by itself, is what I would do there.
Except that's the access to the yard from the bedroom.
Sorry, say that again.
He's not trying to eliminate the access to the yard. He's trying to separate
Yeah, this
the window and
stays.
the door.
Yeah, this stays. I would either do a tripart, which would look, I think, the best, and have your middle window open or have the slider. And
Okay.
once this has to operate, then I'd move this window over. Do you have the side looking this way? You know, on this side, I didn't see that elevation.
Go down to page 4. Harry,
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
I didn't see it. Did you draw that elevation?
Scroll up. Is that it?
All the elevations, I believe, are there.
It's the second from the top.
That's facing the neighbor that's close. Right?
Oh, this is it here?
Yeah.
This right here?
along,
That's it?
Yep.
Okay. All right, I was just curious. Is that a bathroom there? Is that why you have transom windows there?
No, that's part of the master bedroom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that is an odd look. Like I said, that elevation, it actually impacts your neighbor the most. I mean, if you look at the
Yeah.
windows in the original, what do you think, Bill? I mean, I think you're right.
Sorry, could you do something like that? Or some type of consistency, even if it's what are those slider windows in the house? Something to break up. I can understand why you did it on the inside of the L, because you have that ribbon, you continue that ribbon, that makes sense. But like George was saying, this is going to impact the neighbor, and it'd be nice to get 2 windows there if you could, just to break up the facade.
Yeah,
Well,
I
the
don't think
reason-
that's-
I'm sorry.
it's
Go
not
ahead.
it's not the bed wall.
Yeah, that's part of, if you look at the interior layout, part of the reason why we did why we did the longer transit windows was due to the fact that she needed some options in which to lay out her furniture inside the space. And she did not want to have her neighbors looking directly into the property from the side. Currently, there's a great deal of trees, shrubbery, et cetera, that already are there. Her side yard is virtually invisible from the neighboring property as it is currently. So our idea was to do as little impact as we could on the existing landscaping on that side of the house so that that natural wall continues to exist between her and the neighbor.
I feel like your grading plan implies that you're gonna rip out every piece of vegetation up to your property line. So I think sliding that addition over 3 feet really could help with that.
Okay. We can certainly take it past the homeowner.
I mean, maybe this is a revise and resubmit for preliminary, and we'll just kind of take a look at it again. Those are massing issues.
Okay, what are the issues that we want to have studied? You said the transoms are not over a bed, but furniture made them a necessity. I'm not sure I understand.
Well, if we can go to the interior, that would be really helpful. And then I can better give you folks an idea of what we're talking about here.
Where do you want me to go, George?
Can you scroll down, please, a little further? There should be some interior renderings if I'm not mistaken. And if they're not there, yeah, there we go. So what we were attempting to do, you can see the transom windows up on the left-hand side of this first picture on your left-hand quadrant. That is the area where there's two possibilities where she can put the bed. She can put them on the wall. She can put the bed on the wall directly behind the short wall that's there off the bathroom, or she can put it underneath the transom windows. If we put lower windows there, it limits her to only being able to put the bed on the wall, and that's it. Because there's no way to lay that bedroom out any other way based on the open floor plan that she wants to accomplish on the inside.
Well, if you space those windows out sufficiently, you can put the bed between them, which is a very typical layout for a bed
Sure.
wall.
That we could do.
If I may say, guys, this is Chris Demko, who prepared the drawings and designed this room. The client had considerable concerns about privacy on that left wall. So that was the genesis of those windows being suggested. She didn't want any windows at, below shoulder height.
But we heard there's vegetation between the two properties, and to a degree, I mean, this is really close to the side of the lot. So the privacy concerns are kind of being created by this addition.
So we actually don't have to take into that site. I'm with George. Okay, well, let's do it this way. So we actually don't have to take out that vegetation. And I think that is like the balance of what we were talking with the homeowner about. Where like the windows provide privacy. They're high enough up.
Can you just state your name for the record, please?
Yes, hi, I'll put this down. My name's Renee, and I'm the business administration for Synchronous Construction. I do like a lot of permitting. So basically when I'm looking at this design, we did have the windows there for privacy. The vegetation actually doesn't have to come out because we're not going to be taking out that bottom ground for that shrubbery that's there right now. And if you did go back to page 1 where you did see what was there are a lot of trees blocking it. And therefore the gutters would actually be on the side of her property, and then the trees would still be outside of the gutters. So if we are within like the legal zoning for their house, which is like over 3 feet, and the shrubberies there and the windows there, it would provide privacy for both our client and the neighbors and still keep the trees that are there now that they both really like and obviously agreed on.
So I think you might not be taking into consideration the concept of overdig and what's really going to happen when all that ground gets moved. That's why I'm thinking the trees won't stay. And you're really tight. And it's the interesting thing is the renderings and the plans only show the addition a foot off the corner roughly, and then this is showing it 2.5 feet. So I think there's a little reconciliation that has to happen between this site plan and the drawings as well. I mean, we're saying there's a couple good reasons for sliding it over. I don't see a big problem with sliding it over. Potentially you could get you could make something good out of that in the bedroom. I mean, in the bathroom, where you actually get a more significant amount of wall. But I think that's why we just want to see this restudied. I'm not trying to kibosh this addition, but I think sliding it over is going to benefit you in several ways.
We understand. I think the thing to do is we'll go back to our client. Chris and I will talk about the possibility of moving it over, but the biggest issue she's going to have, and Chris had touched on it earlier, is she's very, very concerned about her privacy. And she was very adamant about the windows and the way that they were being designed and the interior was being designed. So let me posit this question, if I may. If we were to move it over 3 feet, would there be any issue with those windows remaining as they're existing?
There are many ways to get privacy other than closing the fenestration. I mean, blinds, drapes, obviously. It's a visual privacy or a burglary privacy that she's.
That I cannot answer.
Well,
What, can I ask what the reasoning is? Is it just your, and I say this respectfully, is it just the personal opinion of the board that those windows would look better? Or is there some historical rule that?
Well, it's
needs to
really
be
the
followed?
design and the proportion we're looking at.
Is this a historical neighborhood? Is there a?
No,
It is
no,
just
it's not
opinion?
historic, but we're still, as part of design review, part of our purview is to look at proportion and scale, and having kind of a clear story window across that whole side of that addition. I agree. I'd like to see it restudied a bit to see if there's an alternative. Also, part of village life, I mean, you know, where I live, I'm looking out my window of my office right now into my neighbor's bedroom, which is shielded by blinds. It's, you know, it's part of village life to have that situation.
Can I also ask another question while we're moving?
So going back to the compatibility, I mean, what we're talking about is a cohesive design strategy, and that horizontal window does not look cohesive with the windows that you're showing on the existing house. So we're talking about a cohesive, compatible design for the addition, and I think it's more significant because this is a side that your neighbor sees.
I agree.
I think that I'm in agreement with the discussion that we've been having, and I don't care either way in terms of the design concept, the sort of tall transom light windows or whatever. I am really concerned about the need for this to be pushed further away from the property line. It looks like what you did was you only pushed it off the back corner of the existing house far enough so that when you came out 22 feet, you're still 3 feet off or 5 feet off or whatever. That hillside is very steep. It continues to go up. There's an awful lot of dirt that's going to have to be addressed. The retaining wall that you show will not hold up over time. And it puts this, your client, as well as the property adjacent, in jeopardy when it fails. So
It was reviewed by my structural engineer, Chris Jasinski of CRJ Services in.
Reviewed and stamped?
It was, he said that because it's under 3 feet or 3 feet or less, it does not require, by Ohio law, it does not require a a stamp. However, the structure itself and he saw no problem with the terracing or the structure of the addition, and said that that the drawings that I submitted for the retaining wall were sufficient because it's 3 feet or less at height.
I would still have our engineer review it, so we're gonna require some type of stamped drawings from.
I think you need a section.
There is a section.
A site
On the
section?
There is a section on the drawings. It's
What page?
Page 6.
Is the back of the house, existing
Right.
house at grade? The existing patios at 1010.7?
I'm not sure what you're at the back of the yes, that's the existing house at 10.7.
And the existing deck is at that same level.
Yeah, if you look at, there's, I'm sorry.
Where's your wall section at on this page?
And the new patios at 2 feet above that. And the house is flush on the higher level of the split at 1013.
Page 6, Harry, please.
I'm on page 6.
Oh, forgive me. Can you scroll out? Can you minimize that? Because all I'm seeing on my screen is, there you go. For some reason, your page 6 is, why is that different?
Oh, there's 2 different drawings. Chris, because we had to separate the drawings.
Oh, so it's then maybe try page 7. There it is. So if you can blow up on that group.
That's a landscape
No.
timbered wall?
Yes, but if you
Over to
move
the right.
move to the left, you'll see a section. Yeah, up to the left of that diagram, Harry, please.
Right.
Or to the right, forgive me, if you scroll to the left. There you go.
Okay.
Okay,
That's right at 3 feet tall.
yeah. That's assuming you get rid of all the dirt.
The idea would be to excavate behind it, so we'd have an opportunity to grade it, add planting beds, it'd be, fully perforated and with the dead men tiebacks.
I think this is more than 3 feet tall because you're showing on your wall section a slope away from the house, which is proper. And once you slope away from the house, your grade there is about as high as you can get it, unless you do a completely different detail. I think your wall is going to be 3 to 4 feet tall. You don't know what it really is going to be when you get out there.
All right, so I have 2 questions. If it requires that it's going to, we're guessing what the height is ultimately going to be once it's excavated and graded. There's quite a bit of manipulation that can be done to make that 3 feet. And if it ends up being 3.2 or 4 feet, and you require a stamp drawing, I'm happy to have my engineer review that for you and with this section or whatever you require. But ultimately, as I've been hearing through this conversation, that you require an architect to do this. In every other municipality in the Cleveland area, whether I do a lot of home design and renovation design in Cleveland, Bay Village, Avon Lake, Lakewood, and never had a problem over many years. I was a contractor for 25 years. I've done a ton of work in Chagrin Falls. I've never experienced the need for an architect. I'm good friends with Rick Siegfried from RSA, who I'm sure you're all very aware of, and he's many times been a mentor to me and offered me, I'm not trying to be immodest or anything, but he's always been quite confident in the drawings that I submitted to him for review, or just, to get some advice on whether it's some design aspect or technical advice. So I'm curious what your rules are. Is it a municipality? Is it specifically to Chagrin Falls? Do you in your books require that? Or are you just saying, because it could be a moot point
That's
that I'm
in our
involved
code,
at all.
Harry.
It's in our local code. It's required that, preliminary, you can submit as a designer, but when it comes to final plans, it is in our code that the drawings must be stamped by an architect. RSA will review these drawings for code compliance. So it is our local code.
So if I were to submit my drawings, clearly I can't speak for Rick or his team, but I would expect there's some liability that goes along with him. So there will be an additional fee and whether he's willing to do it or not. I'm sure he would if that's part of his business plan or his own insurance or whatever might.
RSA is our plan reviewer. So he's going to review it once you make a final submission, but they have to be stamped by an architect in order to go in front of the ARB.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I would require that your structural engineer that designed this retaining wall stamp that, because I'm going to have to send that to our engineer to review, our civil engineer, because it is a hillside. You are supporting quite a bit of hill in the back there. So we want to make sure we don't have a failure in the future.
The village pays our engineer and the village pays Rick to review pretty much everything. So you're not involved in a fee as far as Rick from that side.
Well, if you need a stamp on my drawings, then
that's on you then. Yes. If you hire Rick, that's on
so
you.
if I were going to use Rick, if he's willing to do it, I can appreciate the crossover of him reviewing plans for your township, but beyond that, it would be a private deal between him and I. So
yes.
And if Rick reviews your drawings, then Rick will not review his own work. We send it to another plan reviewer.
So it's conflict of interest. I'll take that into consideration. And again, we'll go to the client and I may just not be part of it. We'll see.
Okay.
Thanks, folks.
One thing that's been flitting around here is these houses are going to be around for a while, and we like to please the homeowner. We really do. But there are guidelines for Chagrin Falls, historical, not historic. We want the house that's going to be here for a long time. I assume long after this owner is gone. So we want it to look good the way it is today, taking into consideration the homeowner's wants, but not necessarily building something we don't want to look at for a long time. I think we have a motion on the floor, don't we, Harry?
No, not yet.
Okay. I think we should revise and resubmit, given all the information and now a greater understanding about what we need. The considerations being given to, and I'm looking for help here, certainly the retaining wall draining issue, the moving of the addition, the necessity of the transom windows in a new fenestration. And anything else that we have
Front
discussed.
elevation, window placement,
Right.
the
Basically,
entry and the window placement, yeah. Or configuration, you wanted to go to tripartite.
proportions, yeah.
Okay. And we'd love to keep your bushes and your trees. We're not after them at all. I'm not sure how we got off on that tangent. Dealing with a neighbor in terms of accessibility, that's not an architectural review issue. That's between you and the neighbor. And I certainly suggest dealing with Tina primarily from what you've told us.
Yep.
All righty.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion by King, seconded by Naylor. John, you got all the comments?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Childs,
Yes.
Naylor,
yes.
King.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Folks, can I have one more question, please?
Yes,
The question of the retaining wall at the left side, that its distance, it's how close it is to the property line. Is that, I've understood through hearsay, through conversations with George, that that's a concern. Is there, can you tell me what the specifications are specifically? What my,
so
What-
the retaining wall has to be 3 feet from the property line.
It
And
has
it's a
to be.
little, yeah, it's a little unclear on the site plan here exactly where it was located. And the height of the wall. Because if I can scroll over here. Has to be 3 feet from the property line, and the wall is right here. So the question was, this corner of the wall, is it, it's less than 3 feet, so you gotta make it comply with the setback.
sure. So is that a subject that could be up for a variance request, or is that an absolute no? And therefore,
No, it could be up for a variance request, but a variance request is a totally different submission from the architecture review board, so. That's
Okay, and
something you and your client are going to have to decide whether you want to keep the wall there and go for a variance or move it and make it comply with zoning.
so clearly, per this plan, as this survey was developed after the plans were submitted, that's where the discrepancy between it, so it is already been something we've considered is moving that wall in order to keep those distances correct. As you can see on the plan as we're looking at it here, that retaining wall, it is, the building's going to have to move considerably more in order to keep that retaining wall off the property line by 3 feet and have a way to walk around there or to keep drainage appropriate.
Correct.
Yes.
So we're talking about moving this thing 6 or 7 feet, not
Wow.
just 2 or 3 feet.
Or changing what your design is doing.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. 338 North Cleveland Street, new accessory building.
Little,
Am I on?
hi, Becky, yes, you are on. Let me give you a little history here, ABR members. So this is located in the R1 100 zoning district. And the applicant's proposing an accessory structure at the rear of the property, rear of the house. And there were some, I did get a zoning or a building code review letter back late yesterday afternoon. I have not shared it with the architect yet, but there are some questions and concerns about building code compliance. I did note that there was an issue with the sidewall being over 10 feet in height, which will have to be addressed by the architect. So with that, I think Becky Pantusa is on, and I'll turn it over to her.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, and this isn't an addition on the house, it's a single detached garage. Yeah, I don't know if you can zoom in and
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
know what the
Becky,
comments say.
the comments, the letter, I haven't had a chance to send it to you because it came after hours last night. So I'll get it to you as soon as I'm done here. So
Yeah, we are not moving the grade around. We're just putting this thing in there. Harry, I've already notified Bob Lucivo is going to be doing this project.
yes,
That and I told him 2 inches. If he moves anything more than 2 inches, he has to tell us, and we have to go back to Rich Cole and get a new grading plan because.
yeah, I just want to make sure the spoil piles are not being stockpiled there. That most of the dirt's going to have to be taken off site.
Yeah. And I told the homeowners they're welcome to, pay to have that regraded if they want to keep the soil on site, but,
That would require a grade plan. So
yeah, right.
okay.
Which I need them to sign off on.
Right. And my other comment here was, is the driveway going to connect to this detached garage?
Yeah.
Okay, we have to make sure.
Yeah.
'cause
They're
no,
gonna, say that again. They're gonna end up having to pull out a little bit of the existing just to get, it sloped the right way and
okay.
with that,
I
but
just want to make sure the driveway's connecting to the garage because that's a zoning. If it doesn't, then that's a zoning issue. So and it was a little hard
Yeah.
to tell in the drawing here. So, all right, let's go on to the architectural review board and let them
yeah, look at,
talk about the aesthetics.
so there's our section there. If you see, there was a little dashed line, but they want to get storage up here. I told them, their kids are going to be the only ones crawl up there, and think it's kind of silly use of space, but nonetheless, they want it, and we're, Harry, right there on AA2, that says 8.8 to the floor structure there,
What page was that? A2, yes, okay.
right, just to the right of where you're at, all your red lines.
Mm-hmm,
You see that says 8.8?
yep,
So I think that is less than the 10 foot, right?
well, no, because your sill plate's higher than 10. And that's the problem. Your sill plate can't be higher than 10 foot.
My sill plate down at the concrete level?
From the floor to the top of the wall, sidewall, can't be higher than 10.
It's not. Look at that 8. See that little man right there?
I see
Look
them.
to
I think it looks, the drawings look like it's balloon framed,
Right.
and I don't think that's how she's gonna frame it. I don't believe that's how you're gonna frame it.
No, right there where your cursor is, it says 8, 8.25,
Yeah,
typical, plus less than an 8-inch block. That's less than 10 feet, and that shows not balloon framed, that's platform framed, right? Just up and to the left of your little cursor.
okay. Well, we can look
Am
at
I-
that. I mean,
Am I missing?
no, I think it was even picked up on the plan review too. So the way it's designed.
If you look at your building section B, that it looks like you're balloon framing it.
Correct.
If the
Underneath
plate,
those red, yeah, I see that. I'm sorry. It's not. And not intended to be. I mean, they're just gonna platform frame this.
exactly. So that puts the plate at,
I didn't, yeah, I see where that confusion crept in.
But-
Sorry with BA2. I mean, we're trying
I'm
to
trying
cantilever
not
this
to-
thing out.
I'm trying not to weigh in on this. But I think the intent of the code for the 10-foot sidewall, since it did come from Holly Chandler's garage, was about the exterior height of the wall. So it's really about the impact of the wall as a structure. So I don't think it's how it's framed. I think it's the height of the eaves versus the height of the either garage floor or front elevation grade, or however you want to set the bottom height.
Yeah, it's not how it's written. I don't disagree if that's the intent. It just needs written a little differently. We're well below the 15, or 18 foot, sorry, with a 15-foot max height
I
here.
think the struggle is,
With,
I'm sorry.
so I could, sorry, Phil, just real quick. I could, if the board is more, interested, we can just change the pitch. I mean, I kind of hate this little 412 roof pitch, but we're really trying to, match the existing house. Hence, having little to no storage up here.
This is Bill Childs. I don't think the issue at all to me personally is this, how high this wall is, or this storage. I think massing wise, this is out of proportion, and this whole roof needs to come down substantially. There's way too much field above the garage door, and obviously it shouldn't be used for storage. And I wouldn't put this, I don't know what this is, right? Whoops, stop. I don't know what this is, but I would get rid of that, and I'd pull this down significantly and study the massing and study the windows a little bit too. I would kind of restudy this composition, and that's just my opinion. I just think it's really top heavy and looks odd.
Yeah. I don't, actually don't disagree with you, Bill. I just don't, like, I literally can't figure out how to get storage up there with a 412 pitch. And if we come back, it's probably going to be with a steeper roof, which kind of stinks because it's such like a mid-century modern house, you know. I would like it to marry up with the, you know, current architecture and style.
Everything along that side is ranches, low pitch. You know, there's not a lot of variability there.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of my feeble attempt at trying to reduce that field, but by all means, give me a suggestion as to how you would, you know, tackle this. Would you prefer a steeper pitched roof?
No, I would.
Just tell my
bring
client
these
they can't
down.
have storage.
Exactly. Just tell them they can't have storage.
Love you.
That's the simplest.
Oh.
Because then you can drop it down, you can put a truss on it. It's way less expensive. Solves the problem.
Yeah, you know, the truss, I actually did try to advocate for the trusses because it is a lower budget. I mean, we're putting money in the garage door itself just because it's so visible from the street.
Yeah.
I tried to even get rid of the size and some of these windows. As is, I'm probably gonna lose on this 8-foot door just to try to align. You know, to your point, Bill, we had a 6'8" door and an 8.0 head height on the window, and it looked totally ridiculous, you know. So we're trying to elevate that head height just to get the proportions back in check a little bit. But the you know, like everybody right now, I gotta get in right now. So trusses aren't even an option because they're 8 weeks out or something ridiculous.
Well, they're still an option. They're just 8 weeks out.
Yeah. True.
I mean,
True.
You put a foundation in and you get the contractor to commit to the size of the trusses, and he can place them on order tomorrow. That's really kind of a silly argument at this point.
Hey, that's fine by me. I mean, I can tell him that, but we still have to go back to the idea. Is it a collective consensus that I tell my client they can't have storage?
No, tell them Bill Child said that.
I just think it's a lot of money for a very ugly looking garage, and you can answer a lot of problems by lowering this thing by 2 feet and keep the 412 pitch and get rid of this overhang thing that you've got. And I don't know how anybody else feels, but I'm not a fan of the, I have it on my house, of no overhang on the gable ends anyway. And I'm not sure, except for us, anybody notices if you stick a little gable end out. on the, to get that coverage over that garage doors.
Does that window get along with the house?
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna, yeah, there's a second phase to the house, so we're trying to marry the two. Too bad I can't, just lift the roof off the existing house. Then they're so tight for space, as everybody is, but they're homeschooling 3 kids, and they ultimately are teaching them in the garage currently. So hence the need for this structure. He wanted to put his office up there above so that he can get away from the kids.
He wants to
And
get away from the kids. Yeah.
And I was like, dude, there's no space up here for you to work. I don't need much space. And I'm like, no, really,
No, really, no.
you're gonna be
space.
laying down on your computer, to work here. So I not super excited to tell him he can't have any space, but is that kind of what I'm hearing? Don't come back with a different pitched roof, just squat space.
I mean, it has to be a drastically different design to have any storage up there. I mean, start
So
over.
it should, yeah.
Yeah.
So motion to revise and resubmit with restudy of the building proportions.
Succinctly put, and all the other things we discussed.
Yeah.
Hey, can I plea for going to 9 and 10? The Dustin thing that didn't get North Street, that didn't get approved administrative last week.
But we still have to finish our motion, right?
I'm sorry,
You're trying to go to no.
lose
Yeah.
my.
That's okay.
I second the motion.
So there's a motion by Naylor, seconded by King to revise and resubmit. Childs,
Yes.
Naylor,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. What was your question, Becky?
Is there any chance we could skip to 9 and 10?
That's up to the chairman of the board.
I'm sorry, what are we saying?
We tried to approve Dustin on North Street last week, but because of the demo permit needing to go out or something,
Oh, yeah.
we had to come back, and I'm just wondering if it's possible to do that next.
Yes, let's do that.
Thank you.
289 North Street.
Becky, I'll send you this letter, but your plans were not approved. So,
That's okay. Well, all we're looking for is the demo.
well, you're gonna get a demo and you're gonna get final approval from ARB.
Right. And then we'll follow up with Rick Siegfried's
Comments.
comments. Yep.
Your,
no
your grade
problem.
plan was approved as noted. There are some notes here. I'll share those with you after the meeting.
Sure.
So Harry, you sent the letters out for this meeting today.
Yeah, there's a demo request for this proposal. And then, remember, we have to keep them separate. So you have a demolition request for the existing detached garage and then final approval for the new garage.
Okay, well, let's, Becky, will you start at the beginning on 289? So those that are listening and weren't here at the last meeting are brought up to speed. And there will be this will become a public forum shortly.
Sure. Is there anybody on here just to make sure? To be sensitive to your time?
I did send notices out to the public, but I have not heard any comments, and I'm not sure if Christie has got any of the neighbors.
Is there anyone listening that's attending in response to the published announcement of the demolition request for the garage at 289 North Street?
You can indicate by raising your hand in the Zoom platform if you're in attendance. Then I'll know you want to speak.
I'm happy to go through it again. I just figure
Yep.
if there's nobody here, I won't waste your time.
We don't have anyone raising their hand or wanting to speak at this time.
Can you give us a thumbnail sketch for the other people that are in the dark right now?
Sure.
So anybody listening will know what we're talking about.
Okay. So 289 North Street, we are proposing the demolition of an existing garage and replacing it with the new design as shown. We are in compliance of all zoning ordinances set forth by Chagrin Falls and have been preliminarily approved of all aesthetic features of this design. We are coming back and asking for a formal final approval of the demo of the existing garage and a final approval of the architectural design of the new proposed garage.
Whatever happened with the drainage neighbor battling engineering report thing? Is that all straightened out now?
That has been,
Is we met collectively and then the engineer that's approving, well, the civil engineer that's designing and the Chagrin Falls engineer that's approving did try to get, you know, both parties happy with the end result. And as far as I know, both have been a final approved, Terry, is that correct?
correct.
Okay.
Steve King, I think last meeting you were interested in hearing about the garden wall that was on the one
Yes.
side of the patio.
Will that grow the barrier that we're hoping for?
Right, we're just turning that aluminum, powder coated aluminum baluster the corner, because I don't really want to be responsible for the landscaper's designs and initiatives. So he's welcome to do something on the side yard. One can work that out with Harry.
Well, there was a construction of an appropriate box to grow. I forget what, you know, so that that rather tall wall wouldn't be a sheer masonry wooden wall. It would be green. And that was. the question.
Right, and Harry, if you can go to the elevations and show what
A3.
we're. And I'm sorry to take up, I'm feeling bad now that I snuck in front of everybody else in line.
So what do you want to look at?
A3.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
See that,
Go back over, Harry. Right there.
All right.
The
right there,
scroll
we're
is
just
gone.
turning that railing around the corner rather than having that a garden wall.
Okay. There is some question on that plan review about this wall and how it's being constructed. So that's going to have
Yeah.
to be addressed.
Yep. I just got a revision. We sent the structure back just based on, I guess, the complexity of the project and have revised notes for that. So we'll get them on the drawings and get it over to RSA. I'm sure that'll clear up any of their concerns or questions.
Help my memory here. Was the neighbor concerned about the, should I say, substantial wall that he'll be looking at? I can't recall if he had issues with that or not.
You're talking about which neighbor, Steve?
The neighbor that's looking at this wall forever.
I have not heard any comments from that neighbor.
Well, I mean, when he was on last time.
That was the other side.
That was the other side. Right.
The other time, really?
That's the new house.
Okay, all right, very good. Do we do the demolition first or the plan first, Harry?
You've looked at the plan, so obviously, you can now look at the demolition and approve the do what you need to do with demolition. Then come back to the
Demolition we
plan.
looked at length, I'll say 2 months ago, and got lost in the woods evidently. So as I recall, we were very much on board for removing it once we knew what we were going to replace it with. So I moved for demolition of the existing garage.
Second.
Motion by King, seconded by Naylor to demo the existing garage. Childs,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Naylor.
Yes.
Okay, now you can move into the new detached garage.
And just to remind you, the two things that we were talking about in the last meeting were the handrail, new handrail versus the garden wall.
Correct.
And and the site issues with the neighbor, both of which have been addressed.
Okay. Questions, anyone? This area calls out for landscaping. It appears as though this owner is going to do things right. That's the way she has presented itself. I think landscaping these two side yards that they don't have to look at would be encouraged, because other people do have to look at. It's a beautiful stone wall, but there's a lot of it.
Yeah, well, there's a landscape plan. I'm sure we'll be back with, other elements. Oh, Harry, can we get a final approval for the Auburn fence thing as well?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up with the board here as soon as you guys are talking. I wanted to show them the fence
Okay.
as well.
Yeah.
So Steve, there's also a fence proposal. Auburn Fence made a proposal for a fence in the rear yard.
Fence with a
Which is-
silver light, as I recall.
It's down here at the end here. So it's just for, here's the site plan. The pink line indicates property line where the fence is going to be located. It's for aluminum ornamental fence. Pretty much self-explanatory. So
this is not the front yard wall we were looking at.
no, this is all in the rear yard. So this is rear yard fence. Front yard wall, I have not seen any new revisions. That hasn't even been discussed, so.
Okay. I move to approve the plan as presented, including the fence, nothing to do with the front yard proposal.
Second.
Approve as presented.
Motion by King, who made the second?
I did.
Okay, Childs. Naylor,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Childs.
Yes.
Okay, Becky, you're done.
Thank you, guys. Yep.
Thank you.
Good for you.
So now we'll go back to 124 Elm Court.
Yes, addition final, resubmission.
I'm promoting Harriet Rogers.
So this is in front of you at the last meeting as a preliminary. You had asked for some window changes, which they have done, and they've indicated on the drawings. It's gone for plan review. They have to go back to plan review. There's some comments here on the construction. So with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Rogers.
Harriet, do you have the ability to start? There you go.
There I am. Here I am. Yes. Hi there. We took the advice of the ABR and we have changed the windows to be in collaboration with the way you had suggested. So they have done those drawings and we're hoping for fun.
Harriet, can you tell me what your position is, like who you are, what company you're with?
I'm not with any company. I'm
Okay.
the homeowner.
Okay, that I just needed to know. So for the records, thank you.
Okay, sure. No
She's holding the purse strings.
Yes, I am. And it's been a dream of mine to have this for about 30 years and it's finally coming to, I think, fruition. And I'm very excited about it and hopeful for it and just would like to get going on it. So that's where I am.
Okay. Harriet, there is a plan review letter that's attached to this that I will email to you at the completion of this meeting.
Okay.
That your architect will need to follow up with some comments on the letter and stuff like that. So
Okay. Is there a problem though with proceeding or what's?
no, we can proceed with the architecture review board. It's just for building code compliance. There's some questions and stuff. So
Okay.
It appears that they did everything we asked, so, I mean, I move to approve unless there's someone that has other comments or concerns.
Very good.
No concerns.
I would second the motion.
So motion by Childs, seconded by King to approve as presented. Naylor,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Childs.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Harriet, once I'm done with the meeting here, I'll email you the letter and that. And if you have any questions, you can please call me.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Harriet.
Appreciate your help. Bye-bye.
Bye.
33 East Orange Street, resubmission.
So this was in front of you at the last meeting as well as a preliminary, and now they're back for a final. So I did send out notices for demolition. So you'll have a public hearing on the demolition of the detached garage and then the review of the final review of the addition. I have not received any comments back from anybody regarding the demolition request. And with that, I would turn it over to Steve Ciceretto, the architect.
Steve, if you could unmute and start your camera, please.
Just an interesting topic here. When this first came in front of the ABR back in 2013, board, they had to get a variance for this, and that current law director at that time just rolled the variance, the area variance, and the building code variances all into one submittal, whereas we just heard from 103 Walnut Street, current law director says it needs to be treated as separate. So it's just a little interesting on difference of opinions of law directors.
Right. Everything's a gray area.
Right. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for seeing us again. I think, Harry, are we handling the demolition of the garage first?
I believe so. It's up to the chairman how he wants to handle it, but I had mentioned before you got online that I did send out notices and I have not heard anything back from any of the residents. So.
Great.
Are there any residents or anybody who wants to speak to the demolition of the garage at 33 East Orange Street?
Well, Christie's looking for people. I mean, I would just driving by and looking at that again. I think it's going to be an improvement to remove that garage.
Absolutely.
And tuck the garage. It's an attached garage behind the house. I think this is a really nice scheme.
Thanks, George. Yeah, I think it adds a little green space as you look up the drive. There's a fence, along the back of the property line right now. That's a board on board. It's painted white, so it kind of matches our color scheme, anyways. But we feel that way too. That the garage was built, in the 1930s to 40s. Some of the historical reports are a little gray on when it was actually built. Just a shed garage, sort of typical. I think it was added on to over time, or at least repaired over time. But
Is the
structurally,
tree
it's
still
not.
pushing it over?
Pardon?
Is the tree behind it still pushing it over?
Yeah, that big tree is still there, still leaning on it, Phil. So
Be nice if they could save the tree.
I think that is part of the goal. It's they wanted to create like a green sort of a courtyard garden or something in that spot, and that tree would offer some shade and it's a nice element. So at this point, unless they find damage when they demo the garage or something, the intent is, I think, to keep that, try and get it to hang in there. But it's so it's sort of twofold purpose. It's not in great shape, and it also allows for the attached garage that they prefer. It offers them some additional space in the house under this scheme. So we're seeking approval to demo the garage, and then we can go back to the house that was preliminary approved last meeting.
The garage was not a great garage when I lived there in 1976, and I don't think it got better over the last 40 years.
You didn't try to put a header in on that, did you? Like the stairs?
No, I didn't. Okay. Riz Prior owned the house and also the house on Cottage. It was a shared driveway from Cottage. There was no drive from Orange at the time.
A little history here. Steve King parked his car in the garage, right?
That's right. Yes, I did.
That's one reason that we should be keeping it.
That's right. Steve King and his maroon van left it from college.
Prominent dust.
It would be nice if the excavator would perhaps leave, should it be necessary, leave some of the floor behind rather than do the demolition every last part of it, because maybe you could have that green space, but leave behind some of the foundation if it would save that tree. I don't know the specifics, but it will unfold when they start taking that thing down, assuming we approve the demolition. I move for demolition of the garage.
Second.
Motion by King, seconded by Naylor to demolish the detached garage 33 East Orange. Childs,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Naylor.
Yes.
Demo's been approved. Now we can move on to the new addition.
Right, so the construction documents have been finalized since our last meeting, but the building stayed just as presented. We clarified a few of the details. We're really matching all the rakes and trim details of the original house, not the one-story L, which is I think we talked about the windows last time being a little bit that our new windows are geared more to match the original building, and you'll see that mutton breakup is a little bit different, but those are work in size for today's egress requirements too. So that's kind of a bonus. Otherwise, all the materials match. We talked about we have some breaks. So there it is. The new addition is actually further than the variance that was granted back in 2013. We haven't moved it off. You had earlier discussions about windows and those building code issues, and these windows that you see in elevation are actually do meet the maximum window opening requirements for fire rated walls as they still are less than 5 feet away. But otherwise, we do have some 1 hour construction on this side. Obviously, you can't tell because it's material similar to the existing house. The wood trim, the wood siding matches. So it should be, I believe it'll be pretty seamless. And I think it's a well-scaled addition.
Yeah, I think it's really nice. The only thing I noticed on the site plan was that there is a lot of paving, and I don't know, is there a max coverage of paving for the rear yard, Harry, or no?
30% for parking of vehicles.
So
And I think that was part of the variance that was granted back in 2013. There was some question about the impervious surface.
But anyway, I think it's great. I think we just approve this and let you guys get going on it.
Great, appreciate that.
Further comments?
No.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay. Motion by King, seconded by Childs for final approval addition. Naylor,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Childs.
Yes.
Great, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Steve, I have comments back from RSA.
Okay.
I will email those to you when I'm done with this meeting. I got them back late yesterday afternoon. I didn't.
Okay, we'll take a look at that and move on those.
Okay. very
Appreciate
good.
it.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good day.
Before we forge ahead, 47 Maple, a 2-minute break, please.
Okay.
Hey, Harry, I have a quick question for you.
Yes, George.
So all these demolitions, what we're seeing, three garage demolitions, they all have a 30-day hold on the actual demolition from today, right?
Only if they're historically significant. That's, if you go back and look at our code in chapter 1146, only if it's historically significant is there a 30-day hold.
Gotcha.
You go back into chapter 1115 under design guidelines, it talks about there's criteria there as well. So
I didn't realize that distinction. So
yeah, look at 1146 under demolition and moving.
Yep.
And then if you go back into, I think it's chapter 1115 under your design review.
Yep. Okay. So that's great. In terms of that sidewall issue, I just looked up the code on that. It's pretty clear. I mean, we're talking about the exterior of the wall. How high is it from the garage floor to the eaves?
The sill plate.
Bearing the rafters, right? The top of the visual wall on the outside is really what that's after. I mean, that was the whole concern of that particular, because otherwise you could just put the floor somewhere and say, oh, the walls, essentially you can start building a 2-story structure with a floor plate under 10 feet and you're not allowed to do that. So.
Well, the other piece that, because I think quite a few people have done that, but the 22-foot height limitation is the other kind of part that kind of restricts that.
But Phil, you're not allowed to put so what you're saying is you could put a 20-foot high wall on a flat roof, or say a 17-foot high wall.
No, I agree. There's restrictions there, but
well, that code was certainly intended to limit the height of the wall as viewed from the outside, not the height of the construction of the first floor of the wall under the garage ceiling.
Trust me, George, I'm not looking for a reinterpretation of that. I think we've got plenty of packed garages.
Right. I know you're not trying to make garages bigger.
Okay. And ladies, 47 Maple Street.
Are we skipping 44 Bellevue?
Did I?
Don't skip that.
You know, my agenda has 47 before Belfield.
Okay, maybe it's my numbering.
Okay.
Okay,
Resubmission, changes to windows and opening and pre-purchased windows and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Christie, anybody online to talk about this?
Harry, this is Daryl Durako. I'm online.
Okay, great, Daryl.
This resubmission was really just to get a better handle on what the board wanted to see as far as a window. I have a personal opinion. Obviously, we took care of on the last meeting the Muntin issue and the vinyl windows, so that's gone. Now we're looking at what the board wants to see on that side. You asked for some elevations. I just put together a quick elevation so we can get this decided and then out to the architect so he can finish his plans for internal and add all the external features. The first drawing is showing the existing layout of the windows on that side that you were concerned about. Shows the casement and that awning. We asked to remove the awning and to replace the casement with a double hung. So the second drawing underneath it is what the proposed is, along with the second floor window being made larger for a bedroom up there for egress. That's what we proposed, but there's some other options I drew up underneath this one, Harry. Couple options if you want to see windows sized differently, placed differently, but each one has removed the awning and the casement.
Do you have one you prefer?
It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. The proposed one is what they're looking at. But this one that's on the screen now would be a preferred one.
I like that one just because of the lower right window that used to be the paired casements is now a consistent height proportion with the other windows. So if you go up one picture, see that's a fat little short one, and now it became a tall, nicer window. So I like the the option below this option.
Just scroll up a little bit, Harry. Well, I guess down, I guess is the word.
Tell me where, that one?
No, next one. That's the proposed. This would be the one George likes. I like that one also for the simple reason that that lower right window they was talking about, that was actually the window that was in the home to begin with before they removed it and put that casement in there. Looks more symmetrical.
And the first floor window in the center, the small window, is that, refresh my memory, is there an opening there now?
That was an original bathroom window. And, and they moved the bathroom where the awning window was and threw that awning window in. So
well, if there's an opportunity to, I'm just suggesting this, I'm not stuck on it, to take the header into that horizontal board band. To be
I see what you're
consistent
saying,
with
yeah.
the rest of the windows, if there's an opportunity to just open that up a little more.
Gotcha.
Make it a full window.
That's an option too.
Yeah, the bottom one, why wouldn't you just make two double, is that the same space, the very bottom?
Which one?
The last one on your schemes. If you move down, Harry, the very last one.
Oh, there you go.
Nope, sorry, no, not there. I apologize. Go up like that one. What's that double hung, the second one on the bottom to the right? What space is that in?
That would have been in where the awning window was. And then we're taking out that small bathroom window.
So that's a bathroom?
Well, originally it was a bathroom. That small window was originally where the bathroom sat.
So what is the space?
This is nothing but a gutted space now.
Okay.
It's not necessary to have that window in. It's what you prefer the exterior to look like. We can work with anything internally.
I know I like that one personally because you have all the same size.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you just have a cute little right-hand window up in the top right space.
Very good. They had an awning window in the bathroom before.
That was we'll call it the remodeled bathroom, relocated bathroom. They threw an awning window in there. So that small window that that can still be seen at the top of the screen there, that was actually in a closet after the remodel.
But it's original.
It's original. That was where the bathroom originally sat. I like what you about all the windows being symmetrical with that small window. That's a nice look too.
Agree.
Yeah, I like both. I like both of those.
So do we call those options? I have to count down. Is those options 2 and 3?
Yeah.
I can't.
I think 2 and 3, and the fourth one, there's one more below what's on the screen now.
I'm good with option 2 or with the comments, or option 3 that Bill was focusing on.
So
I like 3.
You like 3?
I like windows, almost all the windows the same size. That's
Okay.
I agree with
So,
Steve.
So that's 3.
That's
No.
4.
that's the next one up.
3 is where your
3 is one more.
All right, hold on. I gotta get out my antidote here. So
There you
this
go.
is
3.
okay.
3 looks the most clean. 2 would be the closest to the original.
And then you're going to mount these windows in the same plane as where you can see the historic windows were located.
That's
Correct?
correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. Nothing's changing. The other reason for the call was to just voice an opinion. I think I took a picture of someone's window next door, and I walk around the village and I see replacement windows. And to me, the replacement windows look like, I don't know, a styrofoam cup inside a styrofoam cup. I understand their pocket and insert windows, but you remove the blind stop, then you can't put on a historic storm window. Like to keep the historic storm window. There's 2 that are frames are busted up out front, second floor. We'd like to take those out and repair them, put the original hardware back on, and keep the, if we're going to go with replacement windows and an insert, we're looking at a Marvin all wood, because then you don't remove the blind stop. If you're using something like a Pella Architect Reserve, you've got the aluminum extrusion that sticks past the blind stop, and then your historic storm windows don't close, and that gives you that cup inside a cup look. So our options are to either replace the window totally and get an original look, or to do something like a Marvin all wood, where we maintain the existing blind stop and use that blind stop for the storm window and the place where an insert window can meet up. And Marvin's the only one that makes a wood one that would end right at the interior of the blind stop and not extend past.
When you say historic storm window, you mean the old go up on a ladder every fall storm
Yep.
window?
I think it's Harry. It's some of the pictures I took. I don't know if they're further towards the front or after this.
They're up to the top here. I'm trying to clear my.
I like your consideration of those issues, Daryl.
There we go. There we go. Right there. There's the original storm windows, and we'd like to maintain those.
Yeah.
Here's an idea. I have them all over my house. I have those windows that rotted and died. I replaced them with one light white aluminum framed old-fashioned windows. So I go up on a ladder every fall, but they're white aluminum with glass. So it's not exactly that, but it has the same, the windows are original.
Yeah, it's got the same look and feel without the maintenance of the wood.
Daryl's
right.
going for a higher standard than you went for, Steve.
Yeah, well, that'll happen once in a blue moon. By the way, on the others, the new windows in my house are one light individual glass wood windows that I put this aluminum storm over. So, gotcha.
And you're going to take the shutters off, right?
We'd like to, but that's up to you.
You can take those and
You can
deliver them
take
to a
those
house on High Street.
Okay.
So is that what we're looking at? You want approval of the window? Have we seen dimensions or have we seen details on the window that you're going to install?
It was based on this, whether we're going to use Marvin or a Pella Reserve. And if we're going to leave
And the Marvin's
existing,
a wood or an aluminum?
Marvin's a wood, and if we're going to leave the existing blind stops in and not have that
Okay.
insert look, we want to use that. If we're going to go with a brand new window, which we'll do on this side where we're replacing that casement, our options are we could still use a Marvin there, and it wouldn't match perfectly, or we could take out all the windows and replace them with a new construction window where we don't have that window and type of window inside a window look.
I think
There's only two windows that will actually, quote, be replaced in the whole house that have to be replaced, that casement and that awning.
I think you could do those with either the Marvin new window or the Pella Reserve, but not replace all the others. I think it's better to leave all the others and just handle those windows in a sensitive, pretty compatible way.
Agreed. There's some, I think there's two windows in the home where they've actually removed the blind stops and discarded them to get there are some vinyl replacements in, but we can recreate those blind stops with exact measurements from the existing.
Great. Sounds good. I guess and when you do have, kind of draw the big picture or everything, then you could show us, and if I take it, we're still asking you to do that, but you can show it, you just indicate which windows are what, but you're definitely handling this the right way. So
we're agreed on option number 3 as what you'd like to look as the external view on that side of the home.
I think so. I think 2 is fine as well. If you ended up wanting to do that.
Is this 2 here? This one?
That's
Correct.
2.
Because that's an original window, so it's hard to say it's not right. I mean, it's part of the historic house, so it's fine.
Is there one that you would definitely say would pass a muster for the simple reason internal design will be dependent on what you choose on the external?
3 would pass muster from what I'm hearing.
But if either would, that would give you the leeway to come up with the internal design that is best serves your customers' purposes.
Yeah, but you're building to the windows. That's what I'm hearing.
Correct. There's some internal changes that would be made based on windows.
Okay. I don't know if this is the kind of thing we need a vote on. We've given you our opinion, and when we see the plans, we will vote on that.
Okay, but either way, 2 and 3 you're pretty comfortable with.
I'm good with 2 and 3.
Yeah.
All right, that's the information I was looking for. Appreciate your help.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Daryl, can you just tell me the name of your company?
For your home group.
I'm sorry, what?
For your home group.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
44 Bellevue.
That would be George and Heather.
Public service announcement here. Phil Keff had to leave the meeting, so George is the only advisor right now. That's my public service announcement.
Thank you, Harry.
And in this, I'm also presenting. So actually much of what you're going to see, part of it is the architecture of the garage, and part of it is the landscape and fence plan for the property. So that will be presented by, I believe, Jody McHugh, McHugh Design Landscape Architects. And if we want to go to the garage itself, it's very consistent with what you saw with the small tweaks that we were discussing at that point, just in some details. So we could kind of scroll through those elevations, and then we have the detail.
Tell me where you want me to go, George.
I'd say up in the elevations is helpful for the board.
Okay.
So up here, yeah, if we're looking at that, what you're seeing to the left, the east elevation faces Bradley Street. The rear north elevation actually faces the yard and the house, so it faces the pool. It's an important elevation for the homeowner. Really kind of creates the rear wall of this big outdoor, yard that is going to be a very active place with a pool in it. The front south elevation faces the rear of the lot and the new driveway. And we've got the elevation for the end wall of the what we're calling the pool room, and that faces a little patio area that has doors as well. It's sneaking around somewhere. I don't know where.
Design of the cupola, it looks like it's open, like
it's glassed.
Glass.
Right, that's just a little window in the cupola.
So George, just so you're aware, two things, actually three things I should mention to the board. Your applicant, they went to Board of Zoning Appeals last week and for the driveway off of Bellevue Street, and Board of Zoning Appeals approved that to allow them to keep that parking area. The second thing is I still have not received approval back from our engineer on the grade plan. I think he has some comments about that. And then the third thing is plan review. There's some notes on plan review that I'll send to you at the conclusion of the meeting on this. That they have some questions. Okay.
Right.
One of them is the cupola.
What about the fence?
The fence is complying with zoning.
Okay.
So this is the garage structure. The fence is compliant with zoning, but you still need to review the appearance of the fence. I think we're handling this all as one approval, right, Harry? So
yes,
we can let Jody McHugh present her landscape plan. That would be helpful. And I do know we're still looking at the civil
plans, correct?
Correct.
What do you mean civil plans?
Grade plan and
Grading.
Drainage. No. George, tell me about the cupola. A glass cupola is going to look like a lighthouse.
Only when the light's on. Cupolas have little windows in them. It's a thing. That's a very, I mean, it can be a fun little beacon.
How's that
Yeah.
being treated on the interior? Is the cupola open to the room
It
below?
is not open to the room, no. We're not,
So it's independently being lit?
right?
Okay,
It's what is it, a
More
19?
of a decorative element.
okay.
We actually could open it up to the room and get a little light down from that, but
It's a 1901 house with a quote carriage house, kinda. I don't care for that glass, and I don't understand why either.
I mean that allows it to be lit up, so it can be a nice decorative feature from the house. I mean, cupolas have either louvers or glass. It's a mix. I mean, you could see either way historically. So I don't think one's necessarily correct and the other's incorrect.
I think it's a 50-to-1 mix, though.
I've done that detail before. We put windows in there and put glass and lit, so I don't have a problem with it.
All the way around, though. It looks like it's almost completely glass to me. Maybe I need to understand the cupola more.
Well, what would be nice, if it's possible, to have a little bit of a head on this so that there's separation on the bottom. I mean, just so you could see as an individual window. I mean, I can see where Steve is saying it looks like 4 columns and
it's like a carport type of
Right. Right. We're also cognizant of making sure the cupola does not exceed the height of the ridge of the garage.
Bill, when you've done the cupola
Yeah, I
with
think we could
glass,
do that. Get a little.
Bill, when you've done the cupola with the glass, have you had an independent switch that somebody had to turn on to light the cupola? Or
Yeah,
was it just using the light that was naturally happening on the interior and it was open?
I've done it both ways, where it's an independent switch and it looks like a beacon, and I've also put a light up there, indirect lighting, and then I've hanged a chandelier down through to, and it's been a cathedral ceiling in there, so it's been multi-purpose, like a lantern.
I mean, we are.
Was that cupola is on the side that's not facing Bradley, correct?
It's away from Bradley.
It's away from
the
Bradley.
interior of the lot. That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. I don't think it's going to be a distracting element for anyone. It's a fairly modestly scaled element.
Yeah, I just think the whole project is just beautiful. And then I got stumbled over the cupola, which I wasn't paying much attention to until I started looking at it.
George, would you be adverse to put it up here and really highlight it and make it a
Harry would be adverse to it because it's we're at almost 22 feet.
Oh, okay. They count the cupolas then?
But if you look at the other, Harry, if you could scroll up to the other elevation, we definitely don't want to scroll a little to the right. We do think it is nice over those glass doors. That really is. I mean, the garage is there.
Doors. Yeah, I'm good with it. I think I'm good.
Yeah. I think that's on the center line.
And then you're looking out from the house onto that. Yeah.
Right.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
And then if you would like, we can go to the landscape plan fence, which Jody will present, I believe. I think she's on. Jody, if you can unmute yourself and turn on your, there we go. Perfect.
I'm promoting Jody to a panelist so she can be on screen.
Thanks.
Sure.
Good morning.
Morning, Jody.
So in terms of the landscape, we've modified the fence based on the last meeting and the conversation that we had. Here, if you scroll down to sheet LP3, please, or 4. Essentially, the fence around the perimeter of the property is a modification of the existing fence. So we raised it up to meet the 6-foot high. This posts are 6 foot high, and then it scallops down to a 5 foot 2 inch height, mimicking the existing fencing that's there. So it's detail 3 of LP4 on that sheet. And then where it goes around to the front of the house, and again, I'd like to reiterate that they are a corner lot, so this is important to them to have screening because pretty much their entire backyard, with the way the grade changes too as it drops down, is somewhat visible. So that's important to the screen fence. And then they also are finding with the corner lot that a lot of people use their corner for letting their dog go to the bathroom and such. So that's part of the, aside from adding the character, the purpose of the fencing, that's detail 2 of LP4, where it turns onto Bellevue at the corner there. And
So
then,
that's the lower fence at the front yard.
I'm sorry, Judge, that's the lower fence. And then we still have the fence, the screen fence for the pool area enclosure is at the property line. And we have a evergreen hedge of arborvitae behind that. Again, the homeowner is concerned about visibility into the backyard.
Where is the stone fence? I'm a little confused.
Stone fence. There. So the perimeter fence runs from the garage corner along Bradley to the corner of the house here. It's a 6 foot high fence. And then if we can pan over.
Is there a gate? Is there a gate?
And over is the lower fence, and then there's a section that runs here also. And then obviously it's enclosing the entire backyard for the swimming pool, the taller fences. So it runs back here and around.
Is it a gated fence?
Yes, there's a gate location here, and then there's another one back off the driveway.
On the driveway, it's a gated driveway gate.
The driveway's, the gate's back here.
Back here?
Back here. Can you see me pointing or not?
No, I can't.
Okay, so if you go into the driveway and straight back, there's a single gate. There you go.
Okay, but there's not a big gate across the car entrance.
No, this
We
is
have
open.
All right.
actually there's 2 sections, the shorter fence that are adjacent to the driveway. So from the corner of the garage to the left is a drop down version of the front fence. They want to feel enclosed, but not at the 6 foot height.
So the lower fence is only at the elevation along Bellevue?
There are 2 sections of the lower fence adjacent to the driveway on either side.
Talk to me about how that transition works then between the 6 foot and then dropping into a different style of fence lower and where that's happening.
I apologize, you can't see me pointing, but as you come into this driveway area here to the left and to the right, the lower sections of fence, and then here at this corner.
I can't see your pointer, so just tell me what corner it is.
So we're the garage to the east. The 6 foot fence that comes out to the east and then turns and parallels Bellevue or Bradley, sorry.
Right here.
So the corner of the garage is the splitting point for the 6 foot and the lower fence.
And so
The
the
taller
height along
fence-
Bradley is 6 feet?
The majority of the fence along Bradley is 6 foot. It changes at the garage corner and then it changes at the house jut out corner further up to the north where the air conditioner units are located.
Okay.
The intent there, they wanted to have some light posts there to have to create an entrance to the driveway.
So the fence turns at that point?
At the corner of the proposed garage, it turns.
Okay, and that's where the
That's the transition point.
Are you in charge of the lighting? Exterior lighting?
Yes.
Could you explain the lighting?
So they're looking at doing a small light fixture on the garage entrance, fence post entrance there. And then if you can pan over to the front again,
Front of,
the house, please,
okay,
where the sidewalk comes in. There's another post light to the left of the entrance circle. You're close to the right a little bit more. There you
right
go.
here.
Yep, right in there. And then along the existing driveway that's remaining, there's a little seat wall with a column that's going to have a gas light. If you come down the driveway past the tree where the steps come up, there's a little seat wall there. To the right of your mouse cursor,
Yeah,
house, there you go.
okay,
There's a seat wall with a column with a gas light.
right there.
Right there.
And then further into where the gate to the backyard goes, there's a post light that plans to be a gas lamp. And that ties into what George is planning on doing with the house, which I believe, or the garage, I'm sorry, that has two gas lamps on the front facade facing the house, existing house.
Correct.
I can't quite see on the plan.
You mean literally gas lamps or electric lamps that look like gas?
They're gas lamps, they have the flame in them.
Great, that's wonderful. There's some beautiful houses, newer houses in town that now look like airports. They have so much lighting, and this will be wonderful.
No, it looks very nice.
Jody, I just had some preliminary conversations with our engineer. I know he's concerned because the grading, everything, all the water is draining in this direction.
Okay.
I'm not sure, I haven't seen anything, but they may be asking for some type of rain garden or something to mitigate that drainage from going on to adjacent properties. We'll have to wait and see, but I just want to share those comments with you, so.
We're also, so we've been, and I know Rich Cole has been asking your engineering department and trying to figure out inverts on either street for storm and kind of working through the process of where we could go with drainage. There's some existing storm drainage that's evidently functional, but we need to test it. And that was in the area of the old garage, kind of where your cursor is.
Yeah.
We're exploring that. We are talking about adding a small rain garden kind of between the garage structure and Bradley Street. Just a small one that would take, I think, any runoff from the hard surface of the pool deck. Is that right, Jody?
You're on the Bradley side. So
And then,
the pool decking thought was it would go in the back left corner, so southwest corner.
back left. But we're,
We preliminarily showed a rain garden in the back corner. That's side for the pool decking improvements.
right, and then I know Rich Cole was also talking about potential for a small rain garden between the garage and Bradley, so it wouldn't, take too much of their usable lawn area. So we're exploring those, and we know we have to satisfy the town about the drainage, and we want to get, final answers that are we know that these things, these approaches will work. So that's a little bit of work in progress, but I think we have, avenues to pursue.
What is a rain garden? Is that like a dry well?
The difference is that the plants in a rain garden are actually plants that soak up a lot of water. So the idea is your rain garden is, the water is running to it and it's slowing things down a lot. So maybe there's a little runoff over it, but it also is soaking up a lot of the actual water and bringing it down into the ground in that location. Jody, is that substantially correct?
Essentially, it's a depression. So typically they're about 6 inches or so deep. So it kind of is a pit, and then on top of that, you plant it with plants that help with the percolation into the existing soil structure.
I wish Rich Cole would have reached out to our engineer about a month ago, because, there is a storm sewer on Bellevue Street that's on the other side of Bellevue, and they've just repaved that road. And I know they're not going to be happy if you have to go into that street to tie into the storm sewer.
Well, Harry, I'm, and we can talk offline, but I am interested in your thoughts on any difficulty you see in connecting, because there is also a storm on Bradley, correct?
Yeah, I'm not 100%. I think there is. I haven't seen drawings on that, but that's something we can discuss offline.
Yeah, you bet.
So are we just looking at the review of the garage? I'm just looking at the agenda. So the other elements aren't being presented, right?
Garage and fence, right? Harry?
Basically the whole thing.
The
Oh,
whole
we are doing the whole thing.
kit
Okay.
and caboodle.
Well, I'll make a motion for final approval of plans as presented.
I'll second.
So motion by Naylor, seconded by Childs. For final approval, King,
Yes.
Childs,
Yes.
Naylor.
Yes.
Okay, so this is final approval, pending grade plan review is approval as well, which hasn't been worked out yet, so.
Correct.
Neat project.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was gonna do all that stuff when I lived there. I just didn't have the time.
Oh, we've had 2 of your former residences on today.
Is there a house you haven't lived in?
Yeah, that's where I was gonna go.
I had a kick-ass stereo back in those days, and people had me moving. They just moved. My stereo would blast out the neighbors, and I'd have to move.
Then they'd kick you out.
On May Court, I moved in, and the Betty Crone, a dear friend of mine eventually, but she didn't like my stereo at all. And this is when I'm 46. I'm not a kid at that.
Oh.
I'm
So
redoing.
Meg's got you a little more under control.
The second owner of a 1929 house, so I'm doing a little painting in that place, and I took her down to an Indians game because she was a big-time Indians fan, and I didn't hear about my stereo ever again. That was the end of
How long was your hair at that point, Steve?
Not like yours, George. I started taking these testosterone pills, and here I am. All right, let's go. Let's
Oh my
go.
God. So what, we have a walk-in?
So I think that completes the regular agenda.
Thanks,
And,
Jody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. That completes your regular agenda. I do believe there was a walk-in listed. I don't know if they're on.
47 East Orange, it says here at the bottom, walk-in bar.
No, that'd be 53.
50. No? Okay. 53 what?
Yeah.
Well, they live at,
Oh,
I
I
think they
see.
live
I
at
see.
40.
Next door is 53. Gotcha.
Addie Barr
Hello?
promoted.
Hello?
We hear you, Addie. Are you able to start your video?
Sure, okay, has asked you to start your video. Okay, all right.
Super.
Start it.
Hello, can you see
Hello.
us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi. So my husband William and I are both here. We're Addie and William Barr. We purchased our home at 47 East Orange, as well as the home behind us, 48 East Cottage, last year. We've been here for 1 year and we are completely in love. So what we wanted to discuss with you today, because we've never lived in the village, so we don't know how to do this appropriately, but the home next door to us is for sale. And it's 53 East Orange. It's been for sale for a long time. It needs lots and lots of work, and he's asking almost $400,000 for it. It needs lots of structural work, interior work. There's no bathroom upstairs. The house flow is terrible. None of the bathrooms have been redone, so it's going to require quite a bit of money. And part of the house is on our lot.
Shared driveway.
And it has a shared driveway currently with the home further east to the east side of it. It has a shared driveway. We don't have a shared driveway with it. And it also, we are one of the only homes on our side of the street that has this small lot. Everyone else on our side of the street has what I'll call a full lot, which would be if we were able to put the two together. So what we would like to know is if it's possible to purchase the home and knock it down and combine the lot.
But just so I'm clear, can you review where you live now?
Yeah.
And what-
47.
You just go through that because I'm trying to figure out which houses. Okay.
Okay, so I
So
live at
you were-
47, I'm the Baldrich's old house, 47 East Orange.
So you're, okay.
So,
You
and
mentioned cottage. You mentioned Cottage Street.
There
Oh,
was-
so yes, I'm sorry. We also bought the East Cottage Street house, but my little sister lives there.
Okay, so we don't need to think about that right now.
No, I'm sorry. I should
That's
have even
okay.
brought that up.
And so it's 57, pardon me,
53.
53 East Orange that you're wondering about. Okay,
Correct.
great, thank you.
So
So,
on the face of it, and just as this is just a drive-by, I should probably let Wendy speak really, but
Yeah, I'm gonna go look something up. Keep talking.
that it looks like that is a historic house that would be next to you. And really the standard for demolition of a historic house is that it can't feasibly be saved. And that's different from making it a modern, wonderful house. That's really kind of saving it back to, maybe the bathrooms aren't nice or there's not a bathroom upstairs, stuff like that. It's really just saying kind of saving it as a structure. So that's a high bar now. It has been for sale for a while. I understand, but it doesn't sound like it's in fall down condition. And obviously as a town, we're interested in, everyone may have, it's nice for people to deal with one specific house. Like that'd be obviously give you a bigger lot and it'd be an advantage for you not to have that house there. But we can't let that happen on a village-wide scale or else we wouldn't have a historic village. So no one would benefit from the historic fabric. And we spend a lot of energy trying to preserve that historic fabric.
I completely understand. My house is from 1854, so I appreciate that very much. I think I should have probably let you know what our main goal too is we would like to have a pool. So our other question would be then, this house has had multiple additions that are not even close to historical or period appropriate. They actually make the house look weird with glass block windows in the back, which I look upon right now from my kitchen. So our other question would be, would it be feasible for us to maybe take down the back addition and then keep the house, but put a pool in the backyard? And I'm sure there's lots of engineers and things like that, but where do we go? How do we do that? I guess we start here, obviously.
So it's kind of a,
So then you're going to have it as a rental with a pool or?
No, we would leave it as like just a pool house. My mom and dad we just moved them up here, or they lived here their whole lives. My grandfather was Bob Potts, the building inspector in Moreland Hills and Bentleyville. Mm-hmm. So I grew up on Giles Road. And then Greg Potts was my uncle. But
Right.
my mom and dad lived in Athens, Ohio for 10 years. And so just last week we moved them up and they're on East Cottage as well, but in a rental, because we needed like one floor living for them. So if we had to, we could put my parents in that house and somehow figure out maybe how to configure it I mean, it wouldn't be great, but we could figure it out, I think, if we had to. So, or we would just leave it as a pool house even.
Addie, I can, this is Harry with the Village of Chagrin Falls.
Hi, Harry.
You could put a pool in. It has to go in the backyard and it has to be 10 feet from the property line.
Let me write that down. Okay, 10 feet, okay.
So it has to be in the rear yard and the pool has to be a minimum of 10 feet from the side and rear property lines.
All the way around?
Correct.
Okay.
The question would be the additions. That would be something that the ARB would probably want to see some renderings of. I'm not familiar with your property and I don't think they are either, but you know, from a zoning standpoint with swimming pools, that's pretty much the groundwork for pools. It has to be in the backyard, 10 feet from each property line. So
okay.
I don't know how much room you got back there.
I'll go measure.
And typically, I mean, if the addition does not look, feel, everything else historic, it probably is something that you could take off, but that's it. We're just saying that conditionally. We don't know enough about it. So
I understand.
Is that fair, Wendy?
It's very,
Yes.
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, because I think the best approach here would be if you could keep the separate lots and basically the one house, we could look at removing an addition and you're basically putting a pool in.
Okay.
Right.
That's the best way to do it. Okay.
You're much farther
That would
ahead
be my
just to keep.
suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this will obviously increase the tax consequence of this by a lot as opposed to us, you know, even doing like, I guess my question is it possible to do a historical study to see if the house is historically, should I even think about going down that route or should I just drop that whole thing altogether because it is a plaqued house?
That's what I was going to mention. There's a plaque on it, but Harry would also talk about what we do when we do a review is we have a historic significance report done on the property. So that would come in as part of your review process coming to Architectural Review Board.
Okay, so I should hire someone to do that?
Harry, do you want to speak to that, the
Sure.
process?
What you probably should do is hire an architect to put together some renderings on the existing condition of the house, the existing, and what you're proposing to do. And once you make a submission, then we will we'll have our consultant come out and do a review of the property. I will tell you that I do have an Ohio Historic Inventory form, and I don't want to misspeak for Wendy, on file here in the village. The house is over 100 years old, so it's automatically deemed historically significant.
Actually, 1849, yeah.
Yeah, I even have a date, 1846, Brinsmade House. It's just a note that I have. So there's an old house. It's an old house.
It's going to be historically
Yeah,
significant.
it's going to be.
Okay, so I should just I shouldn't even follow up on that, just more think about doing drawings to potentially take down the later add-ons that are not historical and see if we can make it work for us.
Correct.
Conceivably, adding accessibility can be, I mean, adding an elevator isn't a crazy idea either. Which is something you would be certainly allowed to do in an old house.
There's no bathroom up there either, so you'd have to, yeah, but yeah, there's a lot that, well,
Right.
we will, it's going to be a big process, but thank you. I really appreciate it. We didn't know where to go.
A moment. Harry was explaining to you properly. He said, when you're going to do a project with anything close to this old of a house, you pay the village to make this study. Harry said, we will make a study. We will, but you have to pay for it. That's all.
Oh, that's perfect.
Addie, it's part of the submission. So you have an architect put together some drawings. And then as that submission, and we have a consultant that will go out and evaluate the property.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for your
I'm
time.
I'm happy to talk to you offline about the requirements going forward, if that's what you want to do.
Okay, thanks, Harry. I appreciate it.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Good luck.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Yeah.
Before we run, and we should run, would everybody take a spin around the Sassy Cat building so you're really familiar with it? There's been some talk about options, and it's a very convoluted building. So walk around it if you haven't already. We'll be talking about that, I think, soon. Good. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
We're adjourned 11:10. Go vote, everybody.
Go vote.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.